I'm going to show you guys how to hit your goals, no matter what they are, with a simple mental model. And this is what took me from failing university to becoming a data scientist, getting a master's with a distinction, working at Google, running my own businesses. And I'm going to show you exactly how it's done. And it's simpler than you think. Now, to give you guys a bit of a background about me, I went to university and studied psychology and sociology, and I hated it. I didn't really have a plan as to what I wanted to do with my life. I was kind of just doing what seemed right according to, my parents or what everybody else was doing around me. So I decided to go to university. And like I said, I hated it. I didn't really study. Well, I tried to study, I never really got into it. And by the end of it, I got a 2-2 in psychology from Nottingham Trent University. Now, if any of you guys know anything about psychology, well, psychology with sociology, and NTU, Nottingham Trent University, you know that that's essentially failing university. But a year later, I graduated with a master's in data science with a distinction, ended up working for some of the largest corporations, changing how things work in different fields across the world. And it was only one mental model that took me from here to here. Now, what is this mental model? This mental model is essentially borrowed from what's called the Life Authoring Program from Jordan Peterson. And it includes a few different things, and I'm going to show them on the screen here as I go through them. The first thing is, you're going to have to take an honest look at your life. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy or like, oh yeah, I've heard this before. What I mean by this is, you're going to have to look into your past and decide, okay, how have all the behaviors that I've exhibited on a day-to-day basis got me to where I am today? And with that, think about where you are today and what everything that you do on a day-to-day basis, how it's going to lead you into the future. So 10 years from now, if nothing changes with regards to my day-to-day behavior, where am I going to be, realistically speaking? What's the worst possible outcome that could happen if I don't change my regular behaviors? This is so important because it contextualizes a lot of our day-to-day actions, which we might see as minute, especially because when we're experiencing day-to-day life, the things that we do don't seem to have a long-term effect. For example, you may decide to, not go to the gym on a particular day or not worry about what you eat. And if you compound those decisions over a long enough period of time, guess what? You're going to be unhealthy 10 years down the line. Now, this is the same thing with our goals. And I'll point out exactly how it is that you can, map this out so that you can get to where you need to as far as understanding where you are in life. You need to look into your past, see how you got to where you are today, and then map out, based on where you are today, what's going to be there for you in the future. As in the worst possible outcome you could ever imagine. I'm talking homelessness, drug addiction, alcohol dependency, family, all of the worst things that you can possibly think of, right? After you do that, the second thing you're going to want to do is think about what it is that you want in the future, 10 years from now. And now, obviously, this can be as large as you want. You can dream as big as you want. But 10 years from now, I then want you to think about, what do I need to do 5 years from now in order to reach that 10-year plan? Now, in order to reach that 5-year plan, what do I need to do within the next year? So where do I need to be within 1 year in order to reach that 5-year plan? And then from there, what do I need to do within the next 6 months in order to reach that 1-year plan? And then you shrink it all the way down to, what do I need to do this week in order to hit the 6-month plan? And then what do I need to do today, this hour, within the next 30 minutes, or whatever the case might be, depending on what your goals are, in order to hit that week plan. Now, what this does is it forces us to consolidate our actions in the context of our future. So you're no longer divorcing the idea that whatever you do today doesn't matter for your future, because you know very well that if I keep exhibiting these day-to-day behaviors, I'm going to end up in the worst position possible. And if I exhibit these day-to-day behaviors that are good for me, this is where I could potentially end up. Now, the reason this is so powerful is because it forces us to have a shift in perspective about our own behavior. Now, does this come without work and discipline? Of course not. You're still going to have to develop a certain level of discipline. You're still going to have to make some sacrifices and all these other things. However, I think one of the reasons that most people aren't really able to hit their goals is because they're not able to contextualize what they're doing today in a long enough time frame whereby it actually feels like it matters. And this is the main thing of this entire framework. What you do on a day-to-day basis absolutely matters. Does it matter in the same way as your colleague or the other people that you know in your life, your friends, your family? No, but it matters for you. And that means if you have certain big dreams, you're going to have to change the way you act on a day-to-day basis, week to week, month to month, year on year, so that those actions compound to the result that you want in the future. Now, the reason this works so well is because, like I said, it changes your perspective in terms of what's available for you and what you're able to do within your own sphere of influence. I'll give you an example or an analogy. Before, let's say, for example, you're walking around in the streets, you see tons of cars pass by every single day. You think nothing of it. When you then desire a specific car, so let's say you want a Ford Mustang, for example. Now, all of a sudden, every single time you see a Ford Mustang, it's no longer invisible to you. You see it wherever you go. But it started with the desire, and that desire changes your perspective. Now, in the same way, when you map out your desires and when you map out where your life could go if it goes horribly wrong based on your actions, it completely changes your perspective as to what is and isn't something you're willing to do or willing to sacrifice. For example, you might be drinking more than you need to. You might be being a bit lazier than you need to. You wake up too late, you don't go to the gym, you don't do the work that you need to do, and that compounds over time. Because you don't have that perspective as to what it's actually doing to you on the long-term perspective, you're not going to make any changes. When you write down in detail exactly where each of these different behaviors are going to take you, all of a sudden the perspective that you have on your behaviors completely switch. And what that does is, whenever you do engage in those behaviors, they're not so mundane now. You feel the negative effect of not doing what you're supposed to do. Now, that's very powerful because that leads into either a downward spiral in the negative behaviors or an upward spiral whereby you avoid the actions that you are not going to take you to where you need to. And the things that do seem mundane in terms of actually making you progress, you're going to engage in them because you've mapped out exactly how these specifics lead to the goal that you want in the future. For example, I know many people who run businesses, including myself. And one of the most annoying things, one of the most time-consuming things in business is making cold calls, for example, or sending emails or whatever the case might be. These things are really boring. But when you map out how these things compound over the next 10 years or 5 years or 1 year or 6 months in order to achieve your goals, every time you engage in these boring behaviors, you're going to see how much more of a dopamine response you get from engaging in them because you've already attached it to the outcome that you want ultimately. That's why this is so important. And I think most people don't actually know that this is what you need to do in order to set up your life. If you want a really detailed method as to how to do this, a guide as to how to write everything out, and something that you can continuously look back to, I would suggest that you Google Jordan Peterson's self-authoring program. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with absolutely everything Jordan Peterson says and does. However, I will say for a fact that this self-authoring program, or at least this way of thinking, absolutely changed my life for the better. And it doesn't matter what your goals are, whether you want to be a chef or an athlete, or just climb your ranks in the corporate world. This is going to be something that I believe is indispensable to hit your goals. That's what it is. I know it sounds kind of simple, but I promise you, if you take the time to really go into detail about your past, how it led to where you are now, how your current negative behaviors will lead you into the future, and the behaviors that you have and need to cultivate in order to have a better future according to what your 10-year, 5-year, 1-year, 6-month plans are. If you do that in enough detail, with enough pain, and by pain I mean really think of the worst place you could ever end up if you don't change. That pain pushes you away from where you are now, and that desire for the things that you want to do or the things that you want to achieve will pull you into exhibiting certain behaviors on a regular basis. Like I said, This is quite literally what took me from getting a 2-2 in psychology at NTU to getting a distinction in my master's in data science, working at Google, working at other large corporations, running my business, traveling, all these different things. It's all about your mental model. I know I sound like a guru when I say this, but it is not. You can't understate it. I really can't. If you have anything that you want to do, apply this method and tell me if it doesn't work for you, because I can already guarantee that it will, so long as you stick to it. But that's it from me today, guys. I'm Machiavellison. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and let me know what your thoughts are on this. And if you've already tried something like this, let me know how it went. All right?